All right, everybody. Hello again. And no, wait, we can't just have the picture the whole show. Wow. There we go. Welcome to this week's edition of Between a Pot and a Hard Place. I'm Stephen Colton.
And I'm Christopher Patrick.
Yeah, I thought about maybe tonight I was going to wear another weird, crazy mask, but
I'm kind of disappointed that you didn't.
I mean, I could. No. I was like, there's one right next to me.
You can do it. You can do it next time.
All right. But yeah, it's good to be back, and we're finally going to talk about Kevin Conroy. I'm
know.
Sure we'll chit chat about a few things probably before we really dive into that. But I know this was some time ago, and we took a little bit of time off, and then it just lined up to have Mark Richardson on last week, and that was awesome.
Last week was great, and we had really wanted a chance to talk with him about his experiences with Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and then telling kind of some of his own personal stories about Jason David Frank. So,
yeah. And that's something I want to do on the show, not like talk about Jason David Frank every episode, but something I decided I wanted to put on the show every week. We're just going to throw this up every show because I feel like it's important, not just when somebody, takes their own life and we talk about it for a few weeks and then everybody forgets. I want it to be, something important because I know a lot of people personally who have struggled. And although my depressions have never gotten that far, I know kind of what it's like to kind of spiral a little bit. So anybody out there, you can dial 988. It's so simple.
Yeah.
Reach out to somebody, anything.
I think that it's really sad when we hear about, high profile celebrities who end up taking their lives, but it does at least kind of force this conversation to happen, right? Where we realize, okay, these things occur. We need to be aware of them. Maybe we need to pay closer attention to our friends. And a lot of people may not realize that this podcast started, as we've said many times, as cheap therapy.
It really did, and it helped me, and that's why it transitioned naturally into just discussions about things that I liked, and then you came along, and then it just kind of grew from there. When I first started it, I didn't see it being what it is now. But that's not a bad thing, really, because it kind of showed me like this helped. And then now I can do other things because it helped. I'm not just sitting here sad 3 years later.
Right. No, I think that what's great is that we're not overtly talking about mental health all the time or dealing with depression. I do think that indirectly us talking about the stuff that we love and we're passionate about is finding a positive way to handle stress and all that kind of stuff too.
Exactly. And it's something that, sometimes you struggle with being organized or, there's a spider.
Oh no.
I was gonna say or focused, and then the struggle with being organized or focused, and then before I said focused, I got distracted. Little house spider crawling around. But yeah, sometimes even the things that like this show, I mean, I'm not saying that it's ever been like a source of stress, but there's sometimes where it's so routine. You're like, let's take a break and then come back. And then it's like, I remembered why I need this.
Yeah.
It's good to take a step back sometimes and refresh.
But we had our break. We were both kind of dealing with our own little crises. My wife just had her neck surgery about a week and a half ago. But she is recovering really well.
Good.
She's still going to be, she wears a neck brace and everything else, but she's up and walking, and she's already feeling, a lot of sensation back in her fingers, and a lot of the pain that she's been dealing with is gone. So again, that's one more stress in my life that is over.
So she gets a neck surgery. Is that because she had to get a new neck because you're such a pain in her neck, or?
You know what? I'm sure if you asked her that's exactly what she would tell you. So, though my pain is a little bit lower in the back.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, the neck, the back, the butt, whatever.
Well, yeah, I don't know why, but every now and then I come up with a decent corny joke.
Hey.
But yeah, I was thinking about Power Rangers all week. and I started making these little paper power morphers.
Okay.
Because I, get some cardstock paper, print them off, cut them out, fold them up, and I don't know. It's just one of those weird things that I started doing, and I have several because I was gonna put one out of each like Ranger color. So this is what they look like before you fold them and tape them up. I'd colored it with markers and all that. So I don't know, just something I've been doing the last week.
Honestly, I would not have thought that the one you held up that was completed was made out of paper. I would have thought it was more plastic at least. So
yeah, it kind of, I mean, it kind of looks, that's what the cardstock. I did one with regular printer paper and it was just so flimsy. It still worked, but it was flimsy. These are a little bit more durable. Of course, if you step on it, it's destroyed.
Right.
And you can see the tape.
I see the tape. Yeah. But if you look at it straight on, it does seem like something you might buy at the store. So
well, see, that's in the coin in the middle. That's really a picture of a coin that I just kind of put in the middle of the little template or whatever that I found online. Put the coin in the middle and then colored it because I didn't draw any of this.
Okay, but this though is something that you printed out from home and you folded it up?
Yeah, just I got some cardstock paper, stuck it in the printer, and I have no color ink. If I had color ink, I probably wouldn't have to color them. I just print them off as they were.
Okay, so you hand colored that in?
Yeah, mostly, because it was all printed off in black and white, so it was all gray. The coin was gray, like the red was white, because I realized pretty early on when I started doing these, if you try to color red over gray, it comes out, but it's so much darker.
Right.
And actually, I painted this with an orange marker.
Huh.
And the orange over gray blended really well and looks gold.
Okay.
So I think that was really cool.
Yeah.
So I printed it off all in gray. And then for the other ones...
It looks really pro, Steven.
And for these, that's the gray in that is just printed gray.
Okay.
And so when I take orange over that, it looks like this color here. So I don't know. It's just something fun. So I printed off 6 of these and gonna fold them together and stick them on a shelf somewhere. Until I can go to Mark buy all of his props that he made, or he had his coins and stuff from his molds. So that's gonna be fun when I get all that.
Yeah,
I'll go to work doing that.
Well, I mean, I'm sure there are much more expensive ways to do it too. So
that's true.
That's cool. I did want to. The issue with Henry Cavill. Boy, is that blown up this week, hasn't it?
That's and so much. I never know how to pronounce her last name, but Wonder Woman, Gal Gadot is what I've always heard. She's gone too, apparently, as Wonder Woman. Now, I don't know if it's true, but that's what I've been hearing.
I know that Wonder Woman's movie, right? Wonder Woman's movie had been scrapped, and if her movie's been scrapped, and all the other characters in the Justice League have been scrapped, what does that leave her? So I think that's why they think that she's been canceled, is just simply because of that.
She may or may not be coming back, because what it seems like they're doing is rebooting the entire DC extended universe, which a lot of people are trashing it, but I'm like, they kind of need it in a way. They kind of need a little bit of, I would say, a soft reboot, not so much as a hard reset. Because it's interesting that the one thing that they're not canceling or redoing is Flash film. That's the one thing that they haven't touched.
Right. Which is odd. Considering all the drama that's been wrapped up in with Ezra Miller, that's the movie that they've decided to keep on going with. They're a company. They've got the right to go and make decisions about the direction they want to have.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be surprising that when you change the leadership at the top, that the direction is going to absolutely change. That said, the way they did Henry Cavill is dirty, right?
He
left The Witcher, which has been successful.
Yeah.
And then they had him go. So he does that cameo at the end of Black Adam.
Yeah.
Everybody loses their shit. And then they even tell him to go and announce publicly that he's back as Superman. And then almost like total 180, they say, "Oh, we're going in another direction."
Yeah, and as Corey points out, they have a multiverse. I can't read, and only a few replaceable characters. It should be easy to cut and paste new characters, but keep the old ones that everyone likes. I agree. Like with Ben Affleck. Ben Affleck as Batman, I enjoyed, but I do kind of see getting a younger actor to go and start. Now, the Robert Pattinson Batman, would that be part of the rebooted universe if they go in that direction? Which I think they should, because don't keep rebooting the same character. That's where you lose your audience. And then Joaquin Phoenix Joker, be the Joker for Batman, which I know it's not, because they had that cut scene from the Batman with a different Joker, who was great, by the way.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I don't see any reason to take. And Henry Cavill would have been not the best Superman, but as good of a Superman as anybody else in modern era.
I think his
Man
of Steel was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I think that in the Joss Whedon version, the 2017 version of the Justice League, with the bad CGI of his beard or his mustache, that was pretty. Not his fault.
No,
but still, yeah. I just feel like they could have handled it better. And part of me goes, they were relying so much on his bonus post credit scene generating buzz, and so they wanted to do that to get people in to go see the movie. I don't think they realized that the movie wasn't going to make as much money as they thought it was going to.
Yeah, and that's another interesting thing, is I was reading up that The Rock is possibly gone from the DC universe as well.
Yeah.
Which is really striking, because he literally just put out his first movie with them, which that movie had been in the works for over 10 years.
Right.
And just due to his own schedule and this and that, like he could never make it happen until now. And then as soon as the movie comes out, he unfollows Warner Brothers and DC, I believe. So it's like, okay, this is interesting. Are they just wiping the slate clean out of everybody and just said, you know what, screw all that, we're going to start over? Because honestly, I wouldn't be that mad. I do hate how they did Henry Cavill. The studio telling him, tell everyone you're back in the next Superman movie. And then like 5 minutes later, you're fired. Why?
I think that, say what you want to about, Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, but, the guy really did put himself out there as far as promoting the movie Black Adam. Now, was the movie as good as he claimed it was? No, they had a very dumbed down version of the Justice Society. Though I thought Hawkman was great, and I really enjoyed their version of Dr. Fate. But for people on the Justice Society to take on a global threat, I'm sure they could have pulled out some more heavy hitters.
And hello to you, Clemente.
Hey, Clemente. Good to see you. Yeah. So that's where I am. I enjoyed the movie. I liked it. There were some misses in the movie a little bit, and yet I still found myself liking it more than I thought I would. And even I've often said that The Rock is not a particularly good actor. He does comedy really well, but Black Adam did not do any of those slow head turns with the eyebrow raise that The Rock likes to do.
Yeah.
So I think he was trying to play the character and not just be himself.
I don't think. Yeah, I still haven't seen the movie, but
you haven't.
I need to, but I just haven't yet, and so I guess I'm going to wait for it to hit HBO
You know what?
Max.
You know what I'm shocked by is it's actually on HBO Max right now.
Is it? Okay,
I dropped it, and I'm just shocked. Like that's almost like straight to video.
I mean, they kind of
how,
did the same thing. Marvel did the same thing with a couple of films too, and I believe they did a DC film like that before Black Adam. I just can't remember what it was, but yeah, rarely is it like immediately, because if it comes out now, I know with Marvel and Disney that's a completely different thing, but usually if it's on their service, it's day one, not like a month later.
right?
Because that's a bad sign. They're like, okay, we're gonna get people on this. We got to get it in their house. So let's do it this way. I let my HBO Max subscription lapse, so I've missed the last few episodes of Titans as well. So I need to get back on that soon and catch up on that and watch that movie and all that. I've really been on Disney lately, not because it's a preference. It's just it was cheaper at the time.
Yeah, I don't blame you. So maybe we could talk about Black Adam when you finally see it.
Yeah, we can go into it more.
We can cross that off our list, and we can talk about the pros and cons. One of the things that I did, I was like, some people had posted that Black Adam somehow had lost $100 million in the box office, and I was like trying to figure out how that added up, because they were saying, yeah, so Clemente, you enjoyed the Black Adam movie. I enjoyed it. I had known a lot of people that enjoyed it. I don't think I saw a lot of people posting about hating the movie. There might have been some people that were a little bit lukewarm.
I think that might, not having seen it, I can't really say much, but from the reactions I have seen it, I don't remember seeing any extreme negative reactions. Just,
Yeah,
I think because they're so used to, there's no expectations going into a DC film these days. They're used to them being not great.
Well, I think we know when we go into a superhero kind of movie that there's going to be a lot of CGI. There's going to be a lot of blowing things up and fight scenes, which they do have a lot of in Black Adam.
Marvel Phase 4 was a mess. DCU nearly killed by gun. That is true. He's kind of putting a nail in it. Good Lord. Hopefully a new Spawn or TMNT will save us all. Well, we are getting a TMNT, I believe, the end of next year. It is a fully CGI animated film by none other than Seth Rogen. Which I'm excited about because it is going to be animated, but
it'll probably have like raunchy adult humor to it. That's my
guess. But I think he said something about being focused more on like the teenage aspect of the Turtles. That's all I really know. So of course it's going to be. I hope like Donatello is not like emo, like trying to find himself or something like too real. I mean, nothing against it, but I don't want it to be too crazy. But yeah, with it being Seth Rogen, who knows? Yeah. I would love to see another Turtles movie with live practical suits from like the Jim Henson stuff from the first two movies, and the third movie technically, but it doesn't count because it was garbage. But
what I want
Turtles 3 was just the story was horrible. It wasn't so much anything else. It was just it made no sense.
But the third parts of most movies, right? There's always a weak link in it. It's hard to get a winner all three times. But I do want, if they're gonna reboot the Turtles, I want them to remind me what made me fall in love with them from the beginning. That's what I really hope for. Is kind of remind me about why I loved the Turtles as a kid. If they can tap into that, I'm sure that I'll love it. So
Corey says the current TV show pretty cringy. If anybody out there wanted to see a cringy Turtles anything, go find and watch Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Next Mutation from Saban, who also did the Power Rangers and all that stuff. They introduced, I want to say it was around 98 or so, they introduced Turtles as a TV show. It's like a 30-minute TV show. And it was called The Next Mutation. And to introduce them onto the Fox network of shows, they did a crossover with the Power Rangers where the Turtles were possessed by like some evil spell. And they eventually broke free and then rode on space surfboards with the Power Rangers. They're turtles. They're breathing in space. Why? But anyway, and the suits are horrible. It looks like a 5-year-old made it out of paper. But Anyway, I don't want to like take too much time bashing
I
something.
love
Just go
how
pick it up.
Stephen. I love how passionate you are though about this. Like you
I mean,
sound
yeah.
like personally offended by that.
I think what it was is like they tried to redo Turtles, which was a good idea. For in a light, they kind of hyped it up to be like the first couple of movies, but in TV show format. And I was like, oh, this is. But even as a kid, I was like, this is garbage.
Yeah.
It's the quality of the suits. It was almost like their mouths didn't move at all, and you could see like eye holes like this big under their eyes in the masks and stuff like that. And I guess it was like a piece of crap, and it felt like they dropped that piece of crap onto the Power Rangers, but like saying play with this piece of crap for a little bit to make everybody else think they like it.
Almost like they were using the Power Rangers to reboot Turtles.
Yeah, they used it as
the
an
whole
anchor
thing down.
Yeah, and then incidentally, I stopped watching Power Rangers after that.
Oh wow!
Unrelated. It wasn't because of the Turtles. I just kind of got out of it and got more into like wrestling and other things like that as I got a little older. But yeah, Turtles was not good on the TV shows. It's floating around out there somewhere. If anybody wants to see it, you can just go to YouTube and see a clip.
Right, or you could just like gouge out your eyeballs or something too while you're at it.
Yeah, and if I had to pick between Turtles 3 and the Turtles Next Mutation show, I would watch Turtles 3 any day.
Wow.
Over the show. Just because, like, at least the story, it doesn't make any sense for the Turtles, but at least it had somewhere to go, and the suits weren't as bad as the show. Even though, if you notice in the first 3 movies, they progressively got worse and worse as far as quality of suits. But it is what it is. But we're not here to bash Ninja Turtles too much.
No, but it sounds like they kind of deserved it, at least for that. I do feel like this is a good segue point for us, though, to talk about Kevin Conroy, which I think.
Yeah, and I was gonna think. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, but then I remembered about Stargirl.
Okay.
Which just ended. So I think before we dive into Kevin Conroy, maybe we could just kind of go over a little bit about the ending of Stargirl.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
There's never going to be a new episode.
No. Again, you just talk about a show that I felt like it was just really warming up. They were building this team. I'm sure there were tons of stories that they could have told, and I love kind of that Courtney Whitmore energy. You know, and I know that for Jeff Johns, who had written, the storyline, the comic book for Stargirl as an homage to his sister, you know, it really was a labor of love. And the idea that a great, Stargirl, they ended the story, and sorry if that's a spoiler, but they ended the story at season 3, and that's it. That's all we're getting. And I mean, they ended it well.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good considering they kind of were on a time crunch. I mean, and they knew ahead of time, sure. But, well, actually, I don't think they knew ahead of time. They knew it could be possible, so I heard they filmed an alternate ending just in case.
Right.
But there's talk in the online community about, Stargirl will be back on Titans, and that's supposed to happen. But that's still just speculation at the moment. And the same with The Flash. She's supposed to pop up on The Flash before it ends, which The Flash comes out in February, I believe, and it ends. That's their last season. But yeah, Stargirl, I really liked it. And if anybody's watching now and does not want to know what happened at the end of Stargirl, I suggest maybe pausing or coming back because we want to kind of touch on it just a little bit. That's Sylvester, that whole thing.
Right. I mean, I think we all knew something was up about Sylvester. Part of me had said that he had been dead for 10 years, and you don't just come back to life and after being murdered and not be affected. So for me, I thought maybe he was dealing with with PTSD or some type of mental illness. However, a lot of his personality traits, um, of the way that he treated Pat and everybody else, I thought something just doesn't feel right. So when it was
Right.
finally revealed that he was, in fact, the Ultra Humanite, that the Ultra Humanite had placed his brain in Sylvester's body, and that he had been secretly, working to destabilize the entire team this
Yeah.
entire time.
Which that element I didn't see coming until I predicted it the episode before the last. When I was watching that, it was like 1 week left. I'm like, oh no, this is the last one before the last one. And by the end of that last episode, I was like, it's Sylvester. Like somehow I kind of knew, but I didn't know at the beginning. And that really threw you off. You're like, whoa. And it's DC's way of doing that. They like to do that kind of storytelling. The same with Lizard King. Lizard King we thought was gone this whole time. Same with Icicle. Pretty much everybody we thought was dead wasn't, except for the Gambler. So
right,
sorry,
Gambler. The Gambler did not come back, unfortunately. Yeah, well, and I think that revealing the White Gorilla, who we all thought was the Ultra Humanite, made us think that was the big bad. So there were a lot of red herrings that we were supposed to be looking at, besides the one that was staring at us, directly there in the face. I think the part that really hit me really hard. No, I agree.
I agree with that too.
Yeah. But they really were trying to, I think, just kind of play with our emotions a little bit. And they were really playing at this idea that this is a murder mystery kind of thing. But yeah, I agree. Saving people for the 11th hour isn't my idea either. But I did the part for me that really got me is when Pat ends up getting caught and he's in the ground, and there is Sylvester, the Ultra Humanite, basically confessing his entire plan. And I thought, oh great, typical villain, telling the hero his plan as he's slowly burying him. And
then walks away to not see if he's actually dead yet. They always leave him there,
right,
before they know they're gone.
Right, but he stops. He stops telling Pat his plan, and we realize Pat's already been buried.
Yeah,
and I was like, oh wow. So it's not a matter of Pat waiting until he's distracted and then he escapes. He gets completely covered in dirt, which I've got to say that Luke Wilson, even as an actor, having dirt shoveled on your face, that must have sucked.
Yeah, I'm sure it was just a couple of little scoops, but still, it would be not fun to have anything.
Oh, we didn't like that. We didn't like that shot. Let's do it again.
Where he starts to yawn and it goes into his mouth.
Oh man!
Or just anything. I'm hoping they use not actual dirt, but maybe some kind of crumbled up brownies or something. I don't know.
Hey, I would definitely get down in a hole for people to throw.
You're like, oh no,
brownies on mouth. I know, not brownies, but we really did think that he was dead, right?
Yeah. And another this was at the end, but Corey kind of hated that Sylvester was being so dickish to Pat, but then the scene where they are taking out his brain and he's yelling, "Where's Pat? Where's Pat?" That was sad. And the end, the end, we see. Well, yeah, we could go ahead and say that we see not Pat's brain, but Sylvester's brain, the real Sylvester's brain, in a jar, in this lab somewhere, and it's talking. You can hear the voice coming from it. So Sylvester's technically still alive. And then Sylvester's body is brain dead in the hospital. So when the Ultra Humanite takes over, they literally physically take the brain out and put his in. I thought it was more like a mental transfer and not actually physical brain transfer. Because anytime you see like we switched brains, it's always been like a zap or like a ray or something like that does it. But that was cool, and
it really did. It really did give me the old timey Young Frankenstein vibe with the Abby normal brain. That was that for me. That's what it reminded me of. The other part of it is even not with the ultra humanite's brain in his head. Sylvester had always been a bit of an ass, right? Like there was Sylvester dying, and his dying words to Pat are like, the legacy must live on, but not you, right? Even dying, he had to kind of throw shade on Pat. I thought, oh, that was pretty dirty, even before he got possessed. What's that whole thing about with friends like these, who needs enemies?
Yeah. We'll get to we'll get to Pat in a minute, but we'll get out to Kevin Conroy here soon. But just overall, I thought the series finale for Stargirl was pretty good. My favorite bit was at the very end of the episode where you see Jay Garrick rushing. And I'm just like, yes. Because I was hoping to see him in any form, not a flashback. Even though this is a flash forward, way forward, 10 years, he's still alive in that universe. So that makes me wonder.
10 years later.
So we're led to believe that Jay is the same Jay that we've seen in the Flash. So at what point will he go back or go forward or whatever into the Stargirl world to do that moment? Because it hasn't happened yet in the Flash universe because it's still in the present. So, or are they just going to change their mind and go, oh, that's different?
Well, we know that it was, we know that Stargirl has to get to the Titans and to Doom Patrol. And right now, that might be the easiest way is through Jay Garrick.
Yeah, John Wesley Shipp, amazing. I'm choking myself on water.
He's great, but like I said, I would have.
Whoops!
I would have loved to have seen more John Wesley Shipp.
I accidentally clicked on that question, and I did not even see it. But yeah, can the Shade jump multiverse? Probably, I would think.
I don't know. He seems to be capable of a lot. I had kind of felt like his power allowed them to, either transport through space or through dimension. But I don't know about necessarily to another world.
Maybe. But we'll probably never see it happen because, well, unless they do a crossover later. I've heard Dreamer from Stargirl not Stargirl, but Supergirl is going to be on the Flash at some point this year.
Okay.
I've heard all this stuff. But one more thing about the Flash before we get into Kevin Conroy. I have seen promotional images and people saying they're going to Eric Wallace actually said Barry and Iris are going to be together a lot in many ways. So we're finally going to see this is going to be the first X-rated Flash season. No, they're not going to show that, but it's going to happen finally. And I've never been more excited for two fictional characters to sleep together. So,
yeah, the idea that Barry and Iris have been married for quite a while. They've never really been together in all that time. To me,
they show more. I mean, it's crazy. They show more physical affection to their enemies than they do each other.
Right.
Literally, they hug them and let them go. You don't even see Barry and Iris play rock, paper, scissors. So you don't touch in that. Yeah, you do. When you get paper, you cover up. But
well, they've got season 9 where they get to make Nora.
That's Corey has a good point. Building Gideon in bed. Now this is where they can hit all three. Three instead of two. What is the phrase? Kill a bird with two stones? No, kill two birds at once. Wow, kill a bird with two stones. That's one way to kill one.
Two birds with one stone.
They could do 3 birds with 1 stone in this. Drunk Barry could build Gideon while sleeping with Iris. Do it,
You're
Eric
right.
Wallace.
I want more drunk. I want Drunk Barry one last time.
I want to see Drunk Barry speeding, like, because he'll forget to phase and he'll hit a wall or something. I don't know. But yeah, one more time, so Eric Wallace. If you don't do it, then I'll never watch The Flash after this year.
Yeah, I'm done with The Flash after season 9.
I'm done with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
No
so
more.
Kevin Conroy. A lot of people, most people know, and it's been a little while. It's been about a month ago, I think. But he passed away, and apparently he was suffering from battling with cancer, which I didn't know until he passed. And I was like, really? He was sick? Didn't know. I don't know if it was a secret or if it was well known. I just never realized it. But most people know him as Batman from the animated series, and also several other animated DC things. And I kind of am ashamed. Growing up in the time of the animated series, I was around the age that I would have been watching that show, which I didn't watch it a lot. Yeah. I did watch it sometimes, but never a lot. And I know him more as Batman from video games from the last 10 years.
Right.
Which, still, the combination of Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill together, just the best Batman Joker combination, in my opinion, ever.
Well, and I definitely did watch it when it came out and really liked it. Though I don't think I had necessarily paid attention to who it was that voiced the character, but I liked how everything came together with the art and the storyline and the voice acting. I thought that he had done a fantastic job. In prepping for our episode today, I had gone and done a little bit of digging into his past. Interestingly enough, did you know that Kevin Conroy attended Juilliard?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so he attended Juilliard, and while he was at Juilliard, he roomed with Robin Williams.
Wow.
And so, Kevin Conroy with Robin Williams, that must have been, I don't know, Robin Williams seems like one of those guys who never sleeps. He just kind of buzzes.
He was running around,
that would have been interesting. And, it was before he had really gotten big, so that would have been interesting. He had also known Kelsey Grammer. And so, and that was really kind of in his early days in the early 70s.
That is interesting.
Yeah. And before he had, gotten the role and getting into voice acting, he had done a lot of like daytime TV. So a lot of like Dynasty. He had been on Cheers, Matlock, Murphy Brown.
Oh wow, Murphy Brown! I didn't realize anybody actually watched that.
I mean, I watched it a little bit.
I watched it a little bit.
But yeah, I mean, I think that again, sometimes we think, okay, it's just simply his voice acting for Batman, and realizing that he had a huge career. Outside of just that. I mean, when you realize that Batman the animated series began back in 1992.
Yeah.
Right?
Way before I thought. I was thinking like mid-90s, but it was a lot sooner. Yeah.
So 1992. And he had been doing voice acting for Batman, I think they said like 30 years.
Yeah, because he actually is voiced in another game, I think it is, that has yet to release. So that would have been his last little bit.
Yeah.
Of Batman, and that was even after that was after Crisis, CW's Crisis, where he came in that episode. After that he recorded. So
I really thought what they did with Crisis on Infinite Earths was just a really neat nod to him.
Yeah,
right? They brought him in a live action capacity. So the guy who voiced the character gets brought in, live action. Though he didn't do any fighting, and he was wearing that harness, and he was a very dark version of the character. It was still pretty
I think
cool.
that was a nod. Yeah, it was a nod to Kevin Conroy, and with the animated series, and it was also a nod to the Kingdom Come versions of those characters, because I think Mark Guggenheim had said that was supposed to be intended. Well, it was intended to be the Kingdom Come Batman, because in that comic, in that storyline, he killed Superman.
Yeah,
and you see in his house he's got Clark's glasses. So I thought, man, they really went in on that, and that's awesome. I was just curious looking through his IMDb, and it's like he's got so many things.
So what do you think it is?
Apparently he's yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say he's got one. I mean, I'm not gonna read his entire IMDb, but he has apparently one credit as a voice in the newest He-Man cartoon, not the Kevin Smith Masters of the Universe series, but the newest one after that, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. He plays Hordak in one episode. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
So he wasn't a one-trick pony. He was doing voice acting for a lot of different things. So, Stephen, I wanted to ask, what do you think it is about Kevin Conroy that has given him this kind of lasting impact? Number one, with the character, and and with the show.
I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with mainly his voice, because everybody heard his voice. Like, that's Batman. You can close your eyes and hear him. And if I read a Batman comic, like I have a crossover comic that's Justice League versus the Power Rangers, and it's from Boom Studios. And they got a great line of Power Rangers comics, crazy stories. But there was a cross, even in that, and it's more cartoony type artwork. Even in that, I hear Kevin Conroy in the word bubbles. Like, it's the voice that really snags you and like pulls you in. And I think also that 1992 was, the world was still on that wave of Batman hysteria from Michael Keaton's, Tim Burton's original Batman 1989, and then Batman Returns came out, and I believe it was 92, right, or 91. So
I'm not sure exactly when it was,
but it was around that time. And then so the animated series came out right when the hype for Batman was at its peak in the early 90s. So I think that really kind of helped carry that series. And then he just went on to do so many more Batman things. And I think it's like we were talking earlier. We didn't realize how much he had done. And when I looked at his IMDb and he had that credit in a He-Man cartoon, it's like, wow. And maybe that's one of the things, because you hear these voices and you're like, that sounds familiar. And he's so good at voices that you don't always realize it's the same voice. And so he just kind of connects, and you find out he does all this stuff. And it's just, I don't know, he was one of those people that just could do it all. He was sort of like who's a good comparison for live action? I was going to say Robin Williams, because he does have this really good range of like goofy, like, hi, look at me. And then he was a clown in that, was it Patch Adams? And then he does something like Mrs. Doubtfire, which is along this, but then he does that Bicentennial Man when he's a robot that becomes real. And that had such heart and drama and such a different thing than like Flubber or Mrs. Doubtfire.
Right.
And Robin Williams was huge too.
Yeah. I think that what's interesting about his portrayal for Batman is sometimes people might overdo it. You know what I mean? They might exaggerate it. They might lean too heavily into it. And I felt like there was just a very natural way in which he portrayed the character, right?
Yeah.
It seemed just very believable, very natural. And he did that voice consistently, right? From the beginning, when you see it in 92 all the way through to the end, he was very consistent in how he portrayed that character. Now, I don't know how much of that was legitimately just him speaking as himself, or how much of it was him speaking as the character. That is something that I wonder a little bit for myself.
Yeah, me too, because I noticed Of course, when you see him in Crisis, his voice is a little bit different, mostly because, well, that was probably, gosh, that was over 30 years since he first voiced Batman. So, okay, it's understandable he would sound a little different. But then you see him moving around, and the more he talks, it's like, wait a minute. That's Batman. Oh my gosh, like they really did it. And it just looking through, gosh, I need to stop looking at his IMDb because there's so many credits. There's like 75,000 pages of credits.
Yeah.
So many DC cartoons. I was trying to see like which one of these other things that he did so I can go watch it later and compare the voices, because it seems like it is very natural for him. Like you hear sometimes when he talks and you think, oh, that's his regular voice. It doesn't sound too overly animated. It doesn't sound goofy. Not like a Beavis from Beavis and Butthead. Like, hey, so like this is my real voice and everything. Like, imagine if somebody talked like that for real. Although that character was based on a real person that Mike Judge. Not, I don't think he knew him, but he had him in his class in school, and the kid was going, and that's all he had. He based that entire character off of that little giggle. But still, that's not realistic in everyday voice. Same reason everybody's mad about the Mario voice with Chris Pratt in the movie. It's like, would you watch a movie for 90 minutes if he's like, oh, look at this. Oh, it's a day into this. Let's go, Luigi. Like, I couldn't take that for 90 minutes, personally. But Kevin Conroy's voice just was able to, no matter which character he played, it sounded real. Like you believed he was that character. It's just kind of hard to do in animation and voiceover.
So do you think we realized how fortunate we were to have him voicing Batman?
I don't think we realized.
Yeah, because I think it feels like we're on this cycle where we don't realize what we have with these actors or celebrities until we find out they've passed.
Mm-hmm.
Because
I'll tell you, I've been watching a lot more Power Rangers over the last 2-3 weeks than I ever have, except for maybe 30 years ago when I first started watching it. Same with Kevin Conroy. Watching old Batman clips and watching just old stuff, old interviews with him. I'm more interested in the old interviews that he did more so than his actual shows and movies, because I love to get behind what the process is and how. That's why I loved having Mark Richardson last week. I love the idea of knowing information that other people, not necessarily that they don't know, but that most people are just like, oh, show me the really important part. Yeah. I'm like, well, push that aside. How did you do that? Like, so hearing the man speak about, I just did the show and it was really good. I'm like, I don't know. It's just, I love that side of stuff more. No,
I agree. I think that when we both have marveled at how once you get over being starstruck with people that you interview, mm-hmm. and you realize they're just kind of normal people like you. I love being able to pull back the curtain and get who they are really, deep down.
That's what I've loved about so many people that have come on here. And I think that's the one thing, like when you asked a few minutes ago, that's, I think, what made such an impact on people with Kevin Conroy. It was that, I don't know, he had that mysterious, like, how does one man play the same character consistently for 30 years across many different platforms, across many different universes of storytelling? But he did. He's probably one of the only people that's ever done that. The only other person close would probably be Jason David Frank from Power Rangers, who was on the show in '93 and up until this year was involved with it in some form. And you don't see that a lot.
Yeah. I did want to bring up a couple of things here. That Kevin Conroy was gay.
I didn't know that until after he passed away.
Yeah, I was not aware of it either, and part of it was that during most of his career, he had, I think he had not revealed that he was gay and mm-hmm. publicly until 2016. Right?
Yeah, it was a while,
and a lot of it had been that he had concealed his homosexuality during his career because he had
Mhm.
faced a lot of discrimination by collaborators and potential employers, and that he had been removed from consideration from acting jobs due to
Yeah.
his sexual orientation. And so that's part of the reason why he had kind of hid it publicly, though he certainly, he was married
Mhm.
at the time of his death. Um, I think that I think it's unfortunate that he had felt the need to hide that part of
Yeah.
himself.
And I could understand it. I mean, not that I feel like, well, I'm glad he did that. I'm glad he hit it. But I mean, I can understand probably where he's coming from. Not as much. I don't want to say that because I don't truly understand it because I've never been in that spot.
Right.
But I can see the mindset of kind of being looked at differently for whatever reason and being pushed aside or rejected because of it. And so I can understand why someone would want to hide something. It's just a shame that they have to, like you said. I agree.
Right. I think though that it's possible to, have your own personal private life and that be separate from your public life. I certainly understand that.
And Clemente says it's always important to take every, I guess, every moment to let those we know appreciate and love how much they mean to us and engage with them in whatever way while we can. Like on this podcast, I love you guys, and we love you too. Like
Yeah.
I've never met you, but I love you anyway because you're on here, you engage, and we really appreciate that.
Well, and I've known
And
Clemente. I've known Clemente, personally. I've eaten over at his house at least once. He's a really great guy, and so his wife is an English teacher, and so
okay,
that's he really is an awesome guy, and he lives
that's cool.
literally a couple blocks from my house. So
Oh
that's
wow,
cool. Yeah,
so he could run over there really quick and then peek through the window like
he really
and
could.
then run back.
He really could. In fact, considering how close he is, I think he'd be an interesting interview for us at some
That would be
point
fun.
too. Since
Yeah,
he is one of our super fans.
yeah, that would be awesome because I really do like guest episodes and not just
Yeah.
And who says the rules dictate that only celebrities can come on as guests? You know what I
Right.
mean? Like that, anybody can come on as guests. I'm gonna get the mailman one day, like, hey, stop, come here. You know,
The world's most famous mailman.
I mean, I had my mom on here one time when before I think it was before I don't know if it was before we started co-hosting together or if maybe you were out sick or something. I don't remember. But I think it was only audio. It wasn't a video episode. That's back before I understood how to do anything. And I had my phone on speaker next to the microphone and me and her, like we talked for like an hour about whatever. And it was so terrible. But it's a good memory to go back just because of the sound quality and all that with the phone into the microphone and but it was fun to do.
So I did want to ask you, did you and I just reach a milestone? Because I know that you had posted this week about the day when I went and joined the podcast.
I don't remember where that post is. I look back at that, but I remember that. I can't remember if it was like an anniversary date of the first time you came on as a guest, or you were there as like a full co-host. I don't. Okay, it was the very first time you, I think, ever came on.
So what was that? What was the date for that?
Well, I posted it on. I don't know. Where's the actual post? I'm seeing the shared post that I made, but I don't know the original post. Let's see if I can find it and like edit it. View edit tree. It'll show me the date. Probably. No, that's just the. Oh, I edited the post that I reposted. Dang it.
Okay.
Where is it? Let me click on it's a link to the old anchor.fm, which is still up. Anybody can still go there. But we just haven't done exclusive audio shows for a while.
It's just really funny how things work.
The episode date.
Right. Like I remember I had been brought on.
It is.
What is it?
Sorry, I had this episode number up and it was March 30th, 2020.
March 30th, 2020.
I don't know why I posted that in December, but I think it had something to do with a memory that I shared it on December. So originally shared it in December. But yeah, it's been over 2 years, like well over 2 years. So
Yeah.
it's crazy.
It's amazing to me how, that one interaction just kind of, we realized that it worked. I mean, you and I, we had been, chatting back and forth and texting about shows we were watching, you know, every single week, uh, even before the podcast came along. I don't know how long we had been doing that for. So I think we
Years.
were,
It was
yeah,
yeah, somewhere between 2013 2014 is when we first started interacting online, and that just led into, it was all based around Heroes, and then that led into Arrow, I think, because by the time Heroes ended, you're like, this Arrow show's really good. I'm like, no, that sounds stupid. And then The Flash started like a year later, and I got really into The Flash season 2. So at that point, I just kind of rushed back and watched it all, and then we went on from there.
yeah.
But if you look in the comments, everybody, I posted a link straight to the anchor.fm page where our original episodes are, and you can listen to Chris's first appearance on this show in episode 9.
Oh gosh,
Dated
episode
March
9.
20th.
Wow.
Yeah, it was March 20th, 2020.
So
and
it
then
was,
our next episode was 10, obviously, which was April. And we talked about
so
what did we
what's
talk
what's
about? I don't
crazy
know.
what's crazy about that, like
Heroes.
that's like literally when everything shut down is
Yeah,
when
right at
I
the beginning.
started coming on to the podcast. That's crazy.
And I started it not long before all the shutdowns, because my first episode is the very first recording I have was January 27th, 2020. And that, I will tell you that is the most raw and real episode, that and the first one. Really the first 3, but the first one is that's just over a month after my dad passed away. So I was still very fresh and raw. So that's, and then as you addressed earlier on, that was a free, cheap therapy. Well, free and cheap, just free. But yeah, it's crazy looking back. I thought, I'll do this for a couple months maybe. And then now it's literally almost 3 years. So it's insane.
Yeah.
But it's good. And I can't wait to be able to go and do other things.
I don't have any plans of stopping. So as long as you'll have me, I'll keep coming.
And I want people to tell all their celebrities they know. Anybody out there in your area of the country, go to, if you kind of go towards LA at all, anybody, or know a cousin or a neighbor's friend's lawn care guy, have them pass the word around, and eventually, somebody will hear it and like, this Tom Hanks fellow, like, podcast, let's see, and then whatever. Or maybe the guys from Liquid Death will come on, because I love this water. And it's just plain water. This white can is just regular mountain water, and it's really good. So I drink it a lot.
I'm sure that would be a very interesting interview.
Then actually, the funny thing about Liquid Death, I found it because of Steve-O from Jackass.
Okay.
He has a podcast. I think it's called Steve-O's Wild Ride. And he has a YouTube channel, Steve-O's Wild Ride. He interviews so many celebrities, and such random ones too. Like, I remember one of the weirdest ones I saw was he interviewed Jodie Sweetin, who played Stephanie Tanner in Full House.
Right.
What? That's so weird. And he's like, yeah, man, I drink Liquid Death. Yeah, dude. And I'm like, what is Liquid Death? And I found it, and that was a horrible Steve-O impression. But I found it, and I like it. So
yeah, he's probably sponsored by Liquid Death.
Oh, he is. He's definitely sponsored. But I'm not. We're not. And we should be. So
we would definitely be open to being sponsored, though. If they,
I would love to get like Blue Chew, because every other podcast in the world is sponsored by Blue Chew.
Yeah.
I would love the funny little promos that we would write for that, because come on, There's so many. I mean, it would be so hard to not come up with a good line. Blue Chew, brought to you by Blue Chew. Stand up against the odds. Sorry. Yeah.
All right.
I'm giving them free promotion.
I know. This has been a great episode. This has been fun. I'm glad we got a chance to finally go ahead and and talk about Kevin Conroy and his legacy and his memory. And so, I'm glad that you made that a priority here tonight.
Yeah, I wanted to get that done. I wanted to do it last week, but then Mark was ready to go, and I was like, let's just do that and push this. But I'm a little late for this link. That's the link for the episode 9. Of course, you can't do anything on screen with it, but if you're in the chat, you can click on it, I'm sure, or copy and paste it. So this is on Twitter right now, this is on YouTube right now, and this is on our Facebook page right now. So whichever one you're on, you can go and actually, I don't think the comments pop up on Twitter. The comments, I think, only go on YouTube and Facebook, but still, go there. If you're watching this on Twitter, go to YouTube, subscribe, like, comment, set the notifications, and click on that and watch listen to the first chat. And oddly enough, I wanted to address again that we mentioned this before on the show, but that was not only our first episode together, that was the first time we had ever spoken and talked to each other vocally, verbally.
Right.
Which was interesting.
And even then, because people may not realize that, you and I, we don't record in the same building. We're not in the same city. You're over in North Carolina in Asheville, and I'm here in Southern California in Highland. And we've never met.
I wish I was.
Right.
Because here, I'll tell you, I thought about maybe, if I were able to have like a cheap home somewhere over there, like rent not an apartment. But I know cheap anywhere is like no.
Right.
But I mean,
Stephen, I know. Right. Stephen, I know a great refrigerator box that you could use.
If it's, if it never rains, hardly, it definitely hardly ever snows, if ever. Well, in some parts, we've talked about that before, but yeah, it would be more ideal to live in a box there than it would be here, especially this time of year. Because right now it is 25 degrees outside.
Yep.
So
I believe it. Well, you can keep it, Stephen.
Yeah, I wish that were flipped. I would be great with 52. Perfectly fine with 52.
Mm-hmm.
But if I could, I would have a home somewhere in that area just for the winter months.
Well, just saying, we have airports here too. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, I thought about, I think the company I work for has a shop in LAX, I think. Or they have stores. They don't just own one specific thing. They run Auntie Anne's pretzels, and they run different types of airport food and retail spaces. So there's always a possibility.
But you'd have to, live in LA and work at LAX.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to do that necessarily. Getting to work would take 6 hours.
Below
Clement 70?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I would dream for 60s.
Yeah. He's exaggerating. Usually it's under 50. People start to get miserable.
That's fair enough.
We see snow. Like Big Bear isn't very far away, like a 45-minute drive, and we get snow up at Big Bear a lot. My drive, I go to work and teach in Victorville, which is about 45 minutes north from where I live, and that entire pass up there gets a lot of snow, so I get to see it. I just don't have to deal with it a whole lot.
Yeah, well, that's the idea there. That's the ideal situation because I love seeing the snow. I love to appreciate the snow, but I don't want to physically touch it. Well, and it's not so much the snow itself; it's the road conditions. It's other people that think that I don't need no vaccine and I don't need no caution on the road. Not to throw vaccine in there. I should have done that. But you get the point. These people that are just so hardcore against what they, even if they should or shouldn't do it, their own mind is what they need to do, and that's all that matters.
Right.
And then those are the people you see not sideline. It's not a Super Bowl or anything. They turn sideways and slide and pick up trucks because they think that they're so great in their four-wheel drive.
What are the? Yeah, we get the crazy part here too, that when the weather is different than, clear and sunshine, they think they can still drive 80 or 90 on the freeway when it's raining, and or when they do get around snow, people freak out, right? They just don't know how to handle it. So it's, you take the good with the bad.
And that's interesting. Bringing in a truck of snow for a snowball fight at school on Wednesday. I wish they would take trucks of snow away from here when it does happen. It's most of all, it's just the cold weather that I don't like. 25 degrees, and I live in a small older house. All hardwood floors everywhere except for the bathroom, which is like tile. There's no carpeting, so the floors aren't as well insulated, and they're a lot colder to walk on. And it's the old style windows, and a lot of cold air comes through them, and I don't really have the knowledge or the money to really like seal the windows up and all that for the season and all that kind of stuff. So it stays kind of chilly, but I mean, I turn the heat on and it warms up a little, but then it's like overnight, it just gets so cold, 20, 25 right now. And probably by 2 a.m. it'll be like 21 or 20, 19 maybe. And that's not crazy. Fun.
No. Yuck.
It's not fun at all. I would rather deal with 80 every day than to go 1 week with 20s.
Well, and then becomes 112 here during the summertime.
25 daily. Well, I don't know. Our average has probably been a little bit warmer than that. I think sometime late November we had some 60-degree weather days, but usually around late December into February, and we're in the 20 to 30 something range. There's a few days this week. I think our high is going to be like 35 a day, the high. So luckily, there's not been any rain or anything like that during those really extremely cold days. So we haven't had any kind of wintry weather yet, but it is yet to come because we always get something at some point, usually when it's unexpected.
So I will tell you that the one sucky thing is, though, that, we're never going to get a white Christmas, right? When I was a kid growing up in Portland, it snowed and stuck, quite a bit up there, but here in California, White Christmas is pretty rare, if non-existent.
Snows a little here in Kentucky. Yeah, Kentucky is Solomon. Hi, how's it going? The South. That's one of the things I hate about the Southeast United States is the winter. Of course, I guess the middle United States, like Colorado, places like that, get a lot, especially up in the Rockies and stuff like that. But down in this part, we're kind of in a pocket, so we get a lot of rain from hurricanes on the East Coast. Yeah. Sometimes a lot of rain from the Gulf Coast.
I will say the coldest weather I've ever experienced. I experienced at 8,500 feet up in the Colorado Rockies around Estes Park. Wow. And I believe the temperature was 7.
Whew. Yeah, we've had single digit days here before, and it's not fun.
No.
Especially when the wind chill goes below 0.
Yeah. And there were locals that were like without jackets on. They just had like a long sleeve shirt. I'm like, you idiot.
But yeah, I know a guy, like people would look at me as an idiot probably if I go over there and it's like 58 degrees and I'm wearing shorts and no jacket. People are like, are you okay? You're going to die from hypothermia. Because I'm so used to like the lower 50s, 60s that would be comfortable with.
Well, the funny thing here is people just don't own heavy jackets, right? Because it's never cold.
There's no use. Yeah.
Yeah. Even like umbrellas, it's like it never rains. So then it does rain, and then you're scrambling trying to find an umbrella.
And then the one guy with the umbrella store is like, my time has come. Yes, $75. He only works one day a week, like Santa Claus.
Right.
Or one day a year, I mean.
Well, Stephen,
All
I think
right.
we've gotten to that place where we are talking about the weather.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. So yeah, we're on our way out. Before we go, I'm going to throw this up again. 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, which used to be the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. I believe the site is still up, suicidepreventionlifeline.org. I don't know if they're for sure on that, but I know that 988 is an accurate number. So if you're struggling with anything, dial it up at least. Talk to someone, reach out, because you have no idea how many people out there would be devastated to lose you. We never, even as being on this earth still, we lose someone, we didn't realize how much we appreciated them until something happens to them. So
yeah, absolutely. And if you guys are watching this and you have not already subscribed or shared this episode, hey, what are you waiting for?
do it right now.
There we go.
Or
no pressure.
Or nothing will happen to you. I just will be very angry with you if you don't.
Yeah. I'll be cross.
But I'll forget. Yeah. I'll be indifferent. All right. Well, now that I'm rambling and we're talking about the weather, it's time to go ahead and head out. I've drank two of these waters, so
yeah,
it's coming
back.
You gotta
go. Yeah.
Yeah, liquid death.
Right. You guys have a great night. It's been good, Steven. Yep. Thank you. And
and I'll see you. Yeah, we'll see you guys
time.
next week. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Take care, everybody. Good night.
All right.